KHOU 11 News at 10 starts now.
A violent robbery caught on camera. 2 men shot at a cookout in their own front yard. What the robbers got away with and how you can help police. She stopped to help a man stranded in a wheelchair and they were both hit and killed in the street. What neighbors are asking for to make sure it never happens again. And a baby in dire need of a transplant needs your help. How one little swab could make all the difference. But we start on Weather Watch with much of Texas under a severe weather alert. So much hail in Collin County, north of Dallas, it looks like snow on the highway. In Crockett, big hailstones came down, pelting people who were driving. Wayne Waldrop sent us this video. Tonight, the National Weather Service says areas near College Station got hit with softball-sized hail, and tonight flights canceled out of DFW. It's causing a big mess, and we expect even more problems for Houston tomorrow. Blake is tracking it tonight. Blake.
Yeah, Rob, we have a new timeline on those storms as well. Here's a look at the radar. All quiet right now, but we are monitoring big storms just to the west of the Houston area, getting out towards Comal County. Now, take a look at the radar. These were the storms we were monitoring earlier this afternoon. Big thunderstorms, baseball, softball-sized hails, and despite the multiple tornado warnings we had earlier this evening, no reports of touchdowns. Now, we will continue to watch this threat as we head into the overnight. You can see more storms developing out there towards Austin, where we currently have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. This one until 11:15, getting out there to the south of Austin. You can see pretty robust thunderstorms, and they're going to continue to march this particular direction. And it looks like tomorrow is going to be a very rough and tumble day here in the Houston area. So for overnight tonight, we're talking about a 2 out of 5 generally for the northern parts of the viewing area. But as we transition into Sunday, all of southeast Texas becomes included in this slight risk of severe weather. Again, a 2 out of 5 as we get into Sunday afternoon. So we'll continue to monitor this as we head into the afternoon hours tomorrow. We will be here all day keeping you updated on that timeline. Ron?
Whenever there's a threat of severe weather, we're on top of it and we're listening to your questions. A big question tonight, what can we expect tomorrow, Blake?
Well, Ron, everything on the table tomorrow. We're talking small hail, gusty winds, and an isolated tornado risk. We're also going to be monitoring very closely the threat of localized flooding with some training storms.
Another question people have tonight is when will it hit Houston?
Well, let's take a look at the timeline right now and we'll walk through this together. Basically, the further west you are, the earlier these storms are going to arrive. So there's the model zooming right on into southeast Texas. There you go. This is 9 to 9:30, 10 o'clock, moving into our western suburbs, moving into the central zones by the time we get to say 11 a.m. to noon, and there you go, right through downtown Houston, and then moving into our eastern counties, Liberty and Chambers counties, getting out towards 1 to 2 o'clock. And then as we get into the evening hours, looks like maybe a lesser round 2 could push through here, bringing us another round of showers before it all moves out very early Monday morning.
People in Pearland, people in Katy, people in Sugar Land, they all want to know, what about in my neighborhood?
Well, it's one of those situations where everybody can expect the exact same thing. It's just the only difference, the further west you are, the earlier it will arrive. The further east you are, the later it will arrive.
All right. Thank you so much, Blake. Stay connected with the KHOU app. It'll send out push alerts when severe weather hits. It's also got an interactive radar. Download it free in the App Store. Incredible video to show you tonight. A team of men comes up and starts shooting while robbing some men in northeast Houston. Take a good look. See if you know them. This is on Galaxy Street last week. The guys seated here were having a cookout out in the front of their house. Police say the men came up, asked for their phones and wallets, then shot 2 of the men in the legs and ran off. The men who were shot survived but were badly hurt. If you can help, call Crime Stoppers. You don't have to give your name and you may get a $5,000 reward. A Spring area gymnastics coach is being honored this weekend after dying in a motorcycle accident on Friday. Lazario Martinez was the tumbling director at Spring Creek Athletics. A candlelight vigil is held or scheduled for tomorrow night at 5:30 at the SCA Gym. We'll be tracking this story this weekend. People in One Heights neighborhood are demanding change after one of their neighbors was hit and killed helping a man in a wheelchair cross the street. Leisha Adams and that man died after a driver slammed into them a week ago tonight. Now, as David Gonzalez reports, they're asking the city to step in.
As you can see, there's a crosswalk here off Shepherd and 10th, but it's faded, and there are also no ramps that let people on wheelchairs get onto the sidewalk. Adam's neighbors say fixing these problems could help prevent another tragedy from taking place. Getting around in a wheelchair has been a part of Michelle Covert's life since she was a kid. She's learned to overcome the obstacles that come with a disability. So she was blindsided last week to learn that her neighbor, Leisha Adams, was killed trying to help a man in a wheelchair cross the street not far from their homes. Culver admits feeling guilty.
Because I've been in a lot of situations where I've not been able to get across an intersection because there wasn't a ramp or because there was a broken sidewalk, you know, and I've had friends help me.
Culver doesn't blame the victims for what happened.
It's frustrating because you can't always anticipate when you're going to encounter a situation where you'll have trouble, where you won't be able to get up a ramp or where the sidewalk will be broken.
Near the scene of the accident, you see people jaywalking. There's also a faded crosswalk, but no signs or ramps.
I've seen so many dangerous situations like this. I've been in a lot of dangerous situations as well, and I don't feel like the city responds appropriately.
Now the Timber Grove residents fear it will happen again.
We are tax-paying citizens, and we want our friends that are in wheelchairs, that are disabled. We want our children to be safe, and at this point, we don't feel safe.
But they're not sitting still. They're asking the city to fix these problems and make the streets safer for everyone.
That when you make an intersection or you make a crosswalk accessible for someone in a wheelchair, you make it accessible for everybody, including parents pushing strollers.
The group plans to go before the city council on Tuesday to talk to city leaders about their concerns with hopes they do something about it. Reporting in the Heights, I'm David Gonzalez, KHOU 11 News.
Thank you, David. Doctors in Indiana are looking into whether someone caught the measles at a restaurant in College Station. They say anyone who's eaten at the Chewy's restaurant on Harvey Road at Highway 6 near Post Oak Mall should watch for symptoms. They say the exposure risk would have been limited to Friday, March 29th. Measles is highly contagious. It often shows up as a fever with runny nose and a rash. Those signs may not show up until a week or more after you first caught the germs. Doctors say the best way to protect yourself is by getting vaccinated. We have 11 things you need to know about the measles, about the disease, its symptoms, and how it spreads on KHOU.com and the KHOU app. A Houston mother is begging for help trying to find a stem cell match for her 6-month-old son. He was diagnosed with leukemia 3 months ago. She knows a match is out there, but needing a donor of South Asian descent is making them hard to find. Janelle Bluda shows us the people standing for Houston by trying to be his match.
It's a series of swabs, a quick swipe inside your cheek. Just 3 minutes of your time can give an entire life back to this little baby.
He will get to live, you know. He needs to live. He's the only child. As I said, I'm not going to have any more kids. He's my only child.
6-month-old Aram was born happy and healthy. But when he was 3 months old, his mother noticed something wrong.
And we were hoping it's a virus, not cancer. And we came here, and it happened to be leukemia.
Over 1 million cancer cells were found in this baby's tiny body. His doctors hadn't even seen that many in adults. Aram has already had 2 rounds of chemo and more to go. But he needs new bone marrow, and that's where the stem cells come in. There's just one problem.
In the South Asian community, as well as in other communities of color, the chance of passing away, unfortunately, is very, very high, just because we don't have enough folks in the registry.
Today is the first time Aram's mother is leaving the hospital since he was diagnosed in January. Complications during his birth forced her to have a hysterectomy. So she's here today begging you to help save her son, the only child she will ever have.
My son needs, he's only 6 months old. He needs to live. He hasn't lived much. He only lived 3 months outside of the hospital, and he's already 6. He's supposed to be crawling, and he's just stuck on the bed.
Standing for Houston, Janelle Bluda, KHOU 11 News.
That family needs some help. There will be more swab drives in the next few days. If you want to help, we've got the information posted with this story on our homepage. KHOU is under a new restraining order tonight filed by Harris County Fire Marshals. They asked the plant to stop operations until they can do a safety inspection. The chemical fire broke out on Tuesday, killing 1 person and injuring 2 others. Families in Galveston are wondering whether they'll be able to repair the badly damaged house of legendary boxer Jack Johnson. It caught fire this weekend, and as Matt Doherty shows us, to some, this was less a house and more of a home.
When they called yesterday and said it was on fire, it was so hurtful. you know, because we have a lot of memories in this house.
Shirley Collins was raised in this house on the corner of Avenue K.
In this room right here, this was a living room. I got married in that room, and my sister got married in that room.
It really saddens us because
this is Samuel Davis. He was raised here too, in the house that Jack built.
My mother's mother and father purchased this house in 1939 from Jack Johnson. This is a historical spot here.
Jack Johnson is arguably the most famous Galveston resident who ever lived. The boxer was the first black heavyweight champion of the world. On the island, Johnson's memory is survived by a handful of landmarks.
This house holds a legacy.
It was a very fancy house back in its day.
The fighter's legacy reached far beyond the ropes of a boxing ring. Johnson was targeted for his marriage to a white woman, and in 1913 an all-white jury convicted him of violating a racist Jim Crow-era law. The boxer was sent to prison.
Posthumously.
Fast forward to last year when President Donald Trump resurrected Johnson's legacy, giving the boxer a post-mortem presidential pardon. It's the only time anyone has been pardoned by a president after death. Back at Johnson's Galveston Island home, workers try to clean up the charred mess from the yard. Fire investigators haven't said what caused the blaze in the vacant home. It was under renovation by its new owners.
It makes the whole family saddened to see it in the state it's in.
They're hopeful the damage isn't as bad as it looks, not just for their sake, but for the sake of history. From Galveston Island, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.